We're going to talk through the storyboard for our film Defiance.
It's composed of 77 shots from start to finish.
Shot 1. So for the first shot, we had decided to have a intertitle, which will be typed up onto the screen and say Station 21, the 21st November 2056, which is where our film will be set.
We then go on to a long shot of the group of teens walking on top of the mountain, looking rather disorientated.
For our third shot, we then pan around our main character, who will be called Olivia, so that we can see how disorientated she is by this whole thing, and as we pan around her, she will say, "What is this place?"
While she says that, we're going to have a point of view shot so we can see what she sees.
Then we cut into a room which we are calling the control room, where we will have multiple shots of different stations up on a screen with two characters in the control room.
We're then going to use a close-up on the screen of Station 21 so we can see our characters from the control room's perspective.
We're then going to film from one of our phones so that it looks like the characters are being watched.
While our character reads the note, we cut to multiple shots of items mentioned in the note to follow it. We then cut back to the character of an over-the-shoulder shot reading the note to the others.
After the characters read the note, we then have a pan from the character's point of view around so we can see all of our characters in the film.
The camera then tracks Olivia as she walks away with her group. However, she turns back to look at Nate.
We then go back to a flashback where we have our two main characters, Olivia and Connor, stood by a locker, and we have our other main character, Nate, walking by.
As he walks by, we're going to have an eye-line match between Olivia and Nate, and then a close-up on Olivia and Connor holding hands to see Nate's perspective.
After we've filmed by the lockers, we're then going to come back to the mountain and have an over-the-shoulder shot from Nate where we can see Olivia looking at him.
We then get to see some of Connor's personality when he immediately takes charge in his group, picking the pack first. He's quite arrogant towards his team.
We're going to have a long shot from Connor at the front where we can see his group members in the background as he's kneeling down and looking through the pack by himself.
Connor then throws the pack back towards his team in an aggressive way to display his strength.
We then cut into a forest part after Olivia is split up from her group, where we can see Olivia in the foreground and Group C, which is the group which Nate is in the background. They're looking for Nate as he's disappeared, and we can see Olivia is in trouble.
We then cut to Nate's group, which are out looking for him in the forest.
We then cut to an intertitle which says based on a best-selling novel, as we want our trailer to appeal to people who may enjoy reading books.
This is what we feel will be the most remembered shot of the trailer, and it's going to be a close-up on Olivia's face with someone placing his hand over her mouth, and they'll have the symbol of their group on it, and you're not going to see who it is.
We then have a blackout.
We then, from their hand over the mouth scene, we go to a mid-shot of Olivia and Nate. He pulls her behind a tree and whispers, "Shh."
After this shot, we then see Olivia and Nate in the foreground, and we can see Group C, which is Nate's group, walking off in the background.
Nate then begins to walk away, but turns to Olivia and asks, "Are you coming?" The camera tracks Nate to see Olivia in the background.
We then have a close-up footage from one of our phones again, just to prove that they're being watched from the control room, and they'll be on the ground to show Olivia and Nate walking past, so it then again reminds the audience that they are being watched.
Nate then leads Olivia to an abandoned building which he's previously been camped out at. He goes in, holds out his hand and says, "Come on." This shows their relationship.
We then have a point of view shot from our main character, Olivia, as she looks around the building where Nate is being camped out, so we can see the stuff that he's stolen from his other groups.
To prove this, we show a close-up on a map as Olivia notices Nate has stolen from his other group.
We then have an over-the-shoulder shot from Olivia as he is talking to Nate. We hear Nate say, "I don't want to abandon her."
Following this, we go to a flashback where Nate tucks in his sister into bed, showing a father figure to his sister who is orphaned. We're using a mid-2 shot here to show the connection. She's asleep and he kisses her head.
Then have a close-up on Olivia's face as she falls asleep after hearing Nate's story, with a voiceover, even though they left you for dead, and then we fade to black.
To bring up the fact again that they're being controlled by other people, we go back to the control room where we see a leaderboard with pictures of the characters and the authoritative figures saying, "Looks like we have ourselves a rebellion." We then turn to the monitor so you can see Station 21 in a mid-shot with both our main characters in the control room discussing it.
We then cut to someone grabbing Olivia from behind, but we only have a close-up on their hand so we can see the symbol from their group. You don't see who it is.
We then cut to a mid-shot on Nate looking aggressive. This then leads to a flashback. To Nate giving a presentation. This is in the school where they previously were before they were put in this situation. Connor's picking on him, shouting at him during his presentation. We want to do a bird's eye view on this to show the perspective of the room.
This flashback then cuts to the present day, which feels an aggressive push from Nate as he pushes Connor away from Olivia.
Who the hell is that? This then cuts to Connor in his own group saying we have to find her, showing mixed emotions, so we don't know whether to trust him or not.
We then have a close-up on Nate and Olivia as they are woken up by her horrendous scream in the middle of the night.
From this, we have a tracking shot of Nate going out, Olivia following close behind. We can then see Connor falling down the hill. Stop, that's not right. We're then going to show a tracking shot of Connor falling down the hill. We're not going to show his face, and it's going to be very quick so the audience don't know who it is, but still have that element of mystery.
We then have a shot of someone's leg wrapped up in barbed wire. It will not be actual barbed wire, it will be just a prop. But we're not going to see whose face it is, so we don't know who is actually fallen into this.
We then cut to a close-up on Olivia's face as she is crying. We then show her face turning to Nate, looking quite stern. So we want to create an element of confusion here because she's quite upset about the person who's falling, which we know is Connor, but the audience won't know this. So we want it almost to look like she's angry at Nate, like he's done something. We then fade to black and go to a long shot of one of the groups walking on the mountain. This is where our action sequence begins, and we started off with one of the members struggling and falls to the ground, which we know is how one of the groups gets taken out, but the audience is left not knowing.
We then cut to a running shot of a group running as quick as they can with mixed emotions, so we don't know what they're running or why they're running. That made no sense.
This then shows a variation of the running shot, and
so we go from mid-shot to a close-up on our characters' faces as they're running.
We then cut to Nate and Olivia going back to our two main characters, again still running in the action shot, but we still don't know what they're running from, and it creates an element of confusion for our audience.
We then see one of our characters, Nate, collecting his pack, which they can see that now both of their symbols on this pack.
This will be a quick shot as we don't want the audience to know too much, but we want it in there to give a bit of a hint. Continuing our action sequence, we cut to another group crossing the river. This is going to be a tracking long shot. We then got a close-up on a foot slipping on a rock, not knowing really what's going on, but still has that element of danger. From this, we fade to black and have a close-up on hands starting a fire.
Not actually going to start a fire here either. We're just going to show some hands trying to start a fire
for safety reasons. We then cut to another group running from the fire, a long shot.
So that's the divergent thing
in this scene, we've decided to
mimic
a section from the Divergent trailer. I don't know what else to say. In this scene, right, start again and I'll just say it. In this scene, we've decided to mimic a section from the Divergent trailer. We then film from behind as the group turns around to see around to the fire in a long shot. This then leads up to our title, Who Would You Trust? As for the past couple shots in our action sequence, we have no idea what's going on, who's starting what, and we have no idea who to trust ourselves.
This then leads to a mid-two shot of Nate holding out his hand to Olivia as they are crossing a river, saying, "Do you trust me?"
Olivia then looks down at her feet and sees the drop underneath her. We're going to use the high angle shot here so we can see, the high angle close-up so we can see what's her perspective and the way it looks.
We then have a long shot of a group standing in a line as one of the members falls to the ground. This is a mimic from the Maze Runner trailer.
We're then going to cut to a bird's eye view shot of the same group rushing to the aid of this fallen member.
We're then going to have Nate standing on one side of the field with Olivia over at the other side of the field. This is going to be a point of view shot from Nate where we can see Olivia. We're going to have Olivia looking worried and we're going to have Nate shouting her name across the field. We then have our film title, which is Defiant, which will also feature our billing block.
Joining up with the previous shot before our intertitle, we're going to go back to a close-up on Olivia, panting out of breath on the battlefield, looking very distressed. We want this to be the last image that the audience remembers, because we need to have the code of enigma to see whether or not she's going to die or stay alive. This just makes her seem very vulnerable and we don't know the position she's in.
And to end our trailer, we are going to have the date that our film is released, which is September the 21st, 2016. And yeah, that is the storyboard for our film, Defiance.